Hi, this is Erica Kosminski with the Invisible Office. I'm a human resources consultant that works with small and virtual businesses that don't have the budget for a full-time HR manager in their offices. I work with them on things like recruiting and everyday management, as well as red flags for legal involvement that they need to be aware of. What I wanted to speak to you today about was women and time. There was a study done by the Real Simple magazine and the Families and Work Institute in 2012, and this really stood out to me when I very first saw it because of one of the taglines of the study. I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see this image, but the tagline down at the bottom says, "Got a minute? No, we know you don't." And that's exactly why Real Simple commissioned a groundbreaking survey on time. Through this survey, they actually showed some very interesting findings. They had 3,500 women do time logs where they logged every minute of their day for several weeks. The results started out that half of women say they don't have enough time to do everything, and of those results, 25% of the women that reported on the claim that they had less than 45 minutes of free time. Free time would be anything that consisted beyond essential according to this report. So anything outside of work or essential like meal preparation. So what they were saying, 45 minutes, that's 45 minutes of time to spend with their children. That's 45 minutes to watch TV. All of those things were reported as, and 4% of the respondents on the time log had no free time between either workload or childcare or schooling or whatever they were doing. They actually recorded no free time on their schedules within this several weeks of this report. And the findings about that, you sit down and you think that over 25% of the women that responded to this survey claimed that they did not even have a single hour a week to watch TV. Of those that responded, 46% say that they are constantly interrupted. So even when they do get free time, maybe to sit and watch TV, or if they have free time, they may spend time with their children, that even when they're doing these activities, they are still constantly interrupted. And also, of course, that plays over into work. Half of all women say that they don't spend enough time with their children. And it depends on how you think. Do they want to spend more time with their children, or do they feel guilty not spending their time? If they do have free time, do they feel guilty not spending that free time with their children? As a single mom, I know that you can feel guilty. You can feel very guilty, even when you have your child 6 nights a week and you work your butt off and you go to school and you run a business. I've been there, I've done that. And the nights that she's with her father, I really try hard not to feel guilty about it, and I still find myself, even in the evenings right before she goes to bed, I of course still call her, still talk to her, and sometimes we'll even text message several times a day because I worry about her and and everything, and so you feel guilty even for having that quiet time that you don't get when the children are around, because of course we all know it's very hard for children to be quiet because they're not made to be quiet. But these results also showed that all mothers in the study, so over 3,500 mothers in this study, clocked more than 14 hours of direct one-on-one time with their children a week, which is actually, according to the results of this study, up from 10 hours a week in 1965. And the study went on to show that mothers now even spend more time than the housewives of the 1950s did with their children. And so you think of that as an interesting change. And some of this, of course, is that if the child is in school, they're out of the house 8 to 9 hours a day or longer, and so that can also skew those results slightly. Like it says on this page, although women think their partners are perfectly capable, more than 6 in 10 say that their spouses have the same or higher standards when it comes to household chores, but they don't delegate any items to them. 8 in 10 women say their spouses have the same or higher standards when it comes to child care, but they don't ask their spouses to take more care of the children. Like the examples, and every one of these either goes back to guilt or thinking, or things that you want to do. And the thing that I would, if you take anything away from this video, I would take away that you should be working things out of your schedule so that you're working things that you want to do back in. So like number 1 here says, I enjoy doing things with my children. That is your number 1 priority. If that is what you enjoy, then you need to throw out everything else that you possibly can and work that in. My issue with women's delegation issues is number 2. If I did less around the house or with my kids, I'd feel like I wasn't taking care of it properly. That is guilt. That is guilt. Number 3, I don't believe my partner would do the household chores the way I want them done. If they get done, who cares how it gets done? The top 3 jobs you really don't want to hand off to your spouse, 62% said decorating, 59% said household finances, and 53% said organizing. The last, this I think is the kicker on this page. Sometimes you give your kids a few things to do. 39% of the women that responded said they give their children chores several times a week. Only 26% of the women that responded said they give their partners chores at the same frequency. So that means that less than 26% of the respondents of this study were actually asking their partners, or they had some kind of arrangement worked out with their partners to do some of the chores. So that to me is kind of frightening, that women are expected to work all day, whether they're working at home. Some of them are expected to be in school, and then they come home and they're expected to do everything in the house. And part of it is because they never ask for help. One good thing that we did find in this study, more than 1 in 4 women now work flexible schedules, which is up from just 1 in 10 in 1984. That is a really great thing to see from the Department of Labor studies here as well. This is a very interesting graphic that they made for the study. This says which unwanted tasks eat up your free time the most, and the size of the planet-shaped orb in this thing is of the number of respondents. So cleaning, by and far, came in as the thing that ate up most of their free time. The thing that I think is kind of interesting in the way this responded is that the next biggest orb is nothing. I enjoy all my tasks. I'm sorry, but I think those women are in denial. I love my job. I love what I do. I don't enjoy taking out the litter pan. There are things in our lives. I do not enjoy cleaning the oven. There are things in our lives that we don't enjoy. I don't want to call it a lie, but I'm going to call it a lie. The next one down is laundry, and that is my most hated. I'd rather clean than do laundry. So personally, I can believe that one. And of course, they show in this study, if you read some of the quotes, the problem then is that we can't always distinguish between what makes us feel in control and what makes us feel happier of us. Many of us believe that control will confer joy. And that very obviously is not true. Alright, so let's talk about this from another standpoint. How do most women try to combat having this issue? A lot of women, I think, try to multitask. And of course, I'm a psychology grad student, and I can almost assuredly tell you that multitasking is impossible. In 2010, a study at Stanford University demonstrated that multitasking doesn't work even with college students. Clifford Nash's study found that when people are asked to deal with multiple streams of information, they cannot pay attention to all of them, they cannot remember as well, and they do not switch back and forth as fast as they thought they would, even for college students. Another study that was done in 2012, Harvard Business Review posts, multitasking leads to as much as a 40% drop in productivity, increased stress, and a 10% drop in IQ. Driving while distracted, such as texting or on the phone, is actually more dangerous than driving drunk. 20% of injury crashes in 2009 involved reports of distracted driving. 28%, or 1.6 million crashes per year, involve talking, texting, or on cell phones. Scientific America reported in 2009, people who seem to be better at multitasking are actually just simply better at switching back and forth between two different things. The Scientific America study goes on to show that they did CAT scans of people while they were trying to do multiple tasks, and they literally showed that the brain could not process more than one task at a time. Even during the study, when they were flipping things back and forth between them in seconds, the brain could not process more than one thing at a time. Those are some of my concerns, that women, even though they're expected to do more and know more now, they don't get any more assistance, or they have some kind of guilt trip on them that they can't ask for help. Also, I'm a genealogy researcher. We'll have people come in and start researching, and they'll be like, looking at census records, and they'll be like, I don't understand why, we can see that the husband and wife lived there, and they had 4, 6, 11 children, however many children they had. But there also seems to be another family or 2 or 3 that either lived in the same address or lived at the same home. And you start looking at the time period and the location that they lived in. Most of these families did not live alone. They had live-in maybe not housekeepers. They had live-in house help. If you think about like the Scottish Highlands in the 1700s, they would normally have a matron, or a matriarch of the family. She would be in charge of keeping everything running. So she would be in charge of making sure that breakfast, lunch, and dinner was made. Whether that involved making soap, whether that involved, getting things ready to go into the smokehouse. And there's no possible way that one woman could run an entire household without electricity. And so they would have at least one, if not 2 or 3 household helpers. These people would be paid. They would be allowed to live there with their families. Sometimes widows would be taken in with their children so that they would have a job and a place to live and food to eat. And so one might be the cook, and and one might be in charge of housekeeping or whatever tasks that need to be done in a household. And even though we do have modern amenities like electricity and water and washing machines, we are by and far much more efficient in the way that we do things than we were in the 1700s. Women still don't ask for help. Somewhere along the lines, they lost the grasp that it's possible to ask for help. And the second side of this, even on months when I don't do a lot of business, I still have my assistant helping me all the time. The amount of tasks that my assistant gets done in the 4 to 5 hours a month that she works for me is shocking. People that have never worked for someone that bills by the minute rather than sitting at a desk for 8 to 10 hours a day would be shocked at what she gets done. So my assistant costs me about $60 a month. That literally would not buy me a coffee every day. But normally we find that $50 a month will hire a housekeeper for the home. And of course also housekeepers that come into your house, they're much more subjective about the tasks that need to be done in your house than you are. You get distracted, you stop and you feed the cat, and you stop and you eat a snack, and a subjective housekeeper can come in, or an objective housekeeper can come in and clean the exact same, the exact same area a lot quicker because they're not looking around, they're not sitting down and watching TV and getting distracted. So the thing that I want to leave you with today is that you want to take a good objective look and see where the guilt trips are in your life and start there. If you haven't already signed up on my blog, you can sign up for my newsletter, and I have a free version very similar to the one used by Real Simple that shows a time log that you can use either to document your days at work or at home, or both. There's an Excel version of it that's very expandable that you could literally document what you do 24 hours a day on. The thing that I love about the spreadsheet that I use is that it also has a place in the field to mark whether you like the item, love the item, or hate the item. And it makes it very, very easy to see which items you want to do more of and which items you want to remove from your schedule for all of eternity.